Welcome to the second season of Empower Your Magical Self. I'm your host, Leah Wellborn, the Mystic Autistic. I created this podcast because I used to be very, very sad. In fact, for decades, I hated being alive. In 2020, I was touched by grace and I decided to live in joy no matter what that took. The result? I empowered my magical self. Along the way, I was diagnosed as autistic at the age of 48. I also became a Reiki healer and an ordained minister. My mission now is to continue to empower my magical self and to help you empower your magical self, whoever and wherever you may be. In each episode, I'll be talking with someone who has helped me empower my magical self. I'll ask them about the experiences in their lives that have shaped them, and I'll ask each guest to answer one question. What is magic? Join me for all 13 episodes of Empower Your Magical Self, Season 2. Coming up on Episode 1 of Season 2 of Empower Your Magical Self, the artist, divinity conjurer, sarcasm enthusiast, witch, dendrophile, photographer, light worker, and spiritual supporter known as WolfWomxn joins me for a deep conversation about growing up different and how her neurodivergence impacts her life as a healer today. I am Leah Wellborn, the Mystic Autistic, and I am your host for the season. I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you for joining me again. I had 12 really amazing, incredible guests last year, and I'm doing the same this year. I've made a few changes, mostly, I hope, improvements. I really had no idea what I was doing last year. Have a little more of an idea what I'm doing this year. And please know that any mistakes that are made are mine and not those of my guests. So how has your year been since I last saw you? Mine has been very eventful. Some really great things happened. I became a Reiki healer. If you'd like to learn more about that, please look at my website, leahwellborn.net. I also became an ordained minister. I offer a Reiki-infused hand fasting. So if you're interested, please check it out, leahwellborn.net. Go to the Reiki section and learn more about it. In another less fortunate arena, I broke my leg. That didn't happen too long ago, though. That happened just in July. And I broke my leg on July 7th when I was trying to hang a hummingbird feeder from a tree. It's been 85 days today since I broke my leg, and things are coming along. I can walk now with a cane. For the first time, I have been sitting on my tuchus for the entire summer, and it's been challenging, but I'm getting to walk again, and I'm grateful. How's your year been? I would love to hear what's been up with you, and I hope that you'll check out the episodes that are in Season 1 as we move forward into Season 2. Today, my first guest of the season is the incredible, magical, out of this world, over the top, hilarious, funny, beautiful WolfWomxn. You might know her from Instagram or other places on the internet. She is a phenomenon, and her fans love her as they should. Every day, she makes us feel good and wanted and loved and worthy, and she's just wonderful. We're going to talk about a lot of funny things and a lot of really deep things, a lot of really serious things. I discovered while we were talking that, like myself, she, WolfWomxn, is neurodivergent. One of the things I love so much about doing this show is discovering that I have so much in common with these people who I look up to and who have helped me empower my magical self. So we talk about some heavy stuff, but it's a great conversation. It's an uplifting conversation. As I ask all my guests, I ask her, what is magic? So listen to the interview to find out what she says magic is and find out a whole lot of other things about her. Thanks for being here, and I know you'll enjoy the show. And that's it. That was my interview with WolfWomxn. Wow, huh? She's got some amazing energy, and I'm so lucky that she joined me as the first guest on the podcast.
Hi. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Alexandra. Hello. We can get now more into our cosmic kind of theme
yeah.
because I know we're both cosmic ladies.
Yeah.
It's like the veil is lifting or something. Something is so different.
Yeah. No, we have like really experienced such an interesting shift energetically. Like once we like came out of like the height of the COVID, really COVID in general was like such a big healing vat for so many spiritual beings that like so many of us were like thrown into like the depths of like healing. And it was a scary time, but for so many of us it was also like a really like beautiful like container of space. And so it's just really interesting like how that really brought us into the 2022 and the years of the divine feminine, and like how this energy has shifted into such a beautiful space of hopefully may not be in our timeline, it may be in like the generations below us of like truly verging into this matriarchal society, which is what we truly and desperately need to get back to, which is what we took from, the native peoples that were indigenous to this land, and so the patriarchal society is dying, but it's slowly dying and it's holding on for dear life. And so we're watching this like cosmic, this tug of war that's happening, and it's been really deep and really dark and really heavy, but also like really hard work that needs to be done, so yeah, it's been wild. It's been a wild ride, y'all. When we choose to come here, and it's interesting like how many arguments that happen with that statement, because there are so many people that are very angry with being here, right? But we have our soul contracts and we write them up with our spirit team, and we know why we're coming here, and we know we have to break karmic cycles. We know that we have medicine to bring to this earth, to this learning planet or prison planet, depending on how you look at things. And then we get here and we're like, why did I come in this room? You know what I mean? Like, and our whole lives are spent hopefully getting back to that space of understanding, of recognizing what our soul purpose is. But it's hard, but it's work that we're all supposed to be doing. So we're fighting the good fight, man.
We are. And you are such a light, and you're so inspiring. And I just found you really are. And one thing that I love about my podcast is I get a chance to talk to people like yourself, who I just find on social media, who I just I'm so excited when your posts come up, because they make me feel good.
It's just become a really beautiful community that I just really never experienced. And my business, all of my clientele comes from social media, and it's been such a blessing.
And your business is very intriguing to me. It's bathhouse photography. Okay, so tell us about that. What is that all about? First of all, your space is beautiful. Tell us all about the photography.
Sure.
There. Yeah.
Well, so I've been a photographer for like 20 years. I used to do concert photography, which was always like my heart space. The energy and the music was always like my thing. And then, probably about 13 years ago, something like that time. What is it? I don't know. I started just really working with women and femmes, and really just kind of, spirit was like, this is what you need to do. And so I was like, okay. And so I just kind of leaned into that. And since I am very much a Cancer, I was like, I want a giant bath. And modern bathtubs, they don't even care. They don't even cover your boobs. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
How can we create this thing? I'm like mind melding with my husband, bless him, because he is like, whatever you want to do, let's do it. Like, he's a doer. And I love that for him and for me. And so I was like, I want to build this like epic greenhouse that, because again, spirit was like, this is what you need to do. Right. And so I just dreamt up this crazy thing, and we did it, and we built it with a friend of ours, Quinn, who is a magician. And I thought I was making it for me, and I get to enjoy it occasionally, but turns out I wasn't, right? I was making it for it being a safe space for women and femme presenting beings. And so it's all reclaimed wood. And so it's just, the energy is so magical. And It's basically a stock tank feed tank, right? But we converted it into like basically a hot tub. So it has temperature control and it has a filter and all of that. So it operates like a hot tub, but it's like, we call it the hillbilly hot tub.
I love it.
You know, and it's just kind of grown over the years. And, you know, we just added certain things and certain elements. And so that's where I do my water healing work. Over COVID, I really went deep diving into my healing journey, another healing journey. You know, when you have those moments where you're like, I have done so much work and I'm feeling so good. And then it's like, and you get thrown back into the depths of despair. Birthing process. It hurts and then it feels great and you're good. And so, you know, I had this space of you need to be sober. And I was like, I'm not an angry drunk. I am not, you know, I don't destroy. Like, I'm a fun drunk. I am really fun.
I can see it.
And, you know, I went into, you know, getting Reiki certified, and I went to that with my session work. And then it just kind of grew. And then I got spiritual coach certified. And so that, you know, it's just like all these things that just kind of have shown themselves and interwoven into my practices that I get to offer for my clients. And so the photography, you know, it's something that I love to do because I always tell clients to, like, I am not your typical boudoir photographer. I am not trashing that. I think that's beautiful and sexy and powerful and amazing. But that's just not what I do. Like, don't show up in a full face of makeup. Don't show up with cute hair. You know, like, you are going to sweat. Like, it's going to be like 99% of my clients have a really intense release and start bawling and crying and shaking. And so it's like a spiritual baptism of sorts, or an unbaptism, however you want to classify it. And so the pictures are one of those things that, you know, it's kind of an odd line to be on, right? Because a typical photographer makes you look a little bit maybe not like yourself, right? I don't do that. I'm not going to Photoshop your face. I'm not going to take off your scars or your dimples or your cellulite or anything like that. Like, this is you. This is the raw, beautiful, amazing, spectacular you. And, you know, a lot of the clients come out going, who is this? Like, I don't even know who this person is, because it's at the end of our session. So it's like, we do all this energy work, we do all this releasing, we do all this harnessing, and I call in their guides, you know, I call in their healed benevolent ancestors to come and be present with them and to help them with whatever their intentions are, right? Whatever, if it's a loss of a husband or a partner, or, you know, whatever it is that they're trying to heal from, a past trauma. And we really sift through that. So it's a really intense, like 3 to 4 hours, depending on the person. And so, you know, the water at the end is very much, you know, give it to the water. You know, it's the same with hugging trees, right? Like, water is that element the water spirits will take from you, that which no longer serves you. So it's a really interesting thing. And
I'm interested in the fact that even though you are a teacher and a healer, you still involve yourself in learning from other people. I like that, and I admire that, and I would like to hear more about that. Do you regularly seek out?
Yeah, you know, I honestly, you know, with my neurodivergence, I struggle sometimes, you know, with not slipping into the depths of despair, you know, because it is hard work. It can be very draining. And as, you know, teachers, as energy workers, as, you know, women and femmes of color, especially, you know, we have an obligation to not only care for others, but the collective, but also for ourselves. And so we have to really be mindful of that. I am not good at that. You know, I have 3 kids, 3 dogs, and 3 cats, and a husband. And so my life is batshit fucking bananas all the time, you know, and like, I get comments consistently on my page, like, you know, have you always been this way? And, you know, how are you, I want to be like so happy and go lucky like you. Must be nice to be like that in your life. And it's just like, man, I went through the bowels of hell to get here, you know, and I'm continually working through a lot of that energy and that darkness, you know, and it's a constant growth. It's a constant, up and down of energy and flow, because that's what we are, like we are energy and we are flow. And so if we don't tend to that magic, then our magic dwindles away. And then we don't show up, as Draw Rosa says, in right relationship. Right. So as people that work in this industry, in the spiritual industry, as intuitives, as witches, as whatever you classify your practice and yourself as, I'm everything. So I'm like, yeah, probably, I do that,
Right.
Without sans labels. But if we don't show up in right relationship, then we're not benefiting the collective. We're just, again, showing up in this, colonist patriarchal programming of, everything is beautiful and everything is light and golden and, good vibes only, and, don't harsh my vibe sort of bullshit, and that again makes us believe that, it's not okay to hurt. It's not okay to heal. It's not okay to be, broken, quote unquote, but that's the work, right? Like we have to go into our shadow. We have to work through those things, because if we don't continually grow, then we're not showing up in right relationship. We're just spouting whatever we hear, and we're not sitting there and going, okay, so is this coming from a healed space, or is this coming from, my anger, my trauma, like where is this coming from, so that I can be sure that when I share my words, that it is beneficial to collective energy and not detrimental to the collective energy. And, the path to enlightenment is understanding that you know nothing. And I try to always remember that, because, nobody's an expert of anything. We're all just kind of figuring it out as we go. We all have imposter syndrome, because we're divine beings that are leading a human experience in existence. So it feels like we don't belong here, because we really don't belong here very much. Like we chose to come here. We're doing the hard work. I'm not saying it from a place of like, I'm an alien and like all that he says. And we do come here to learn and do certain things. And that's also why I try to talk to my clients about, because these human things that are happening to us, if we can find that ability to also separate ourselves from, our emotions are not us, but they are happening to us, right? And that's the biggest thing that has helped me work through my depression and anxiety and all of that shit, because we do feel like we don't belong. And it is one of those things where we all struggle with that, even though people pretend like they don't, and they're, have this shiny life on Instagram, like, look how perfect everything is. And then you're like, have to remind yourself, no one's life is perfect. People pretend because it makes them feel better. It makes them, it makes them feel like they're benefiting from that, when in reality they're just, again, not showing up in right relationship. But that's a blather. But I don't know.
It's good. And I do want to go back, because you mentioned sadness, depression, and it sounds that I've heard you mention on videos other times that there was a dark time.
Yeah, many dark times.
There were many dark times in my life too. And that's what this show really is about. Because you earlier mentioned COVID and how powerful it was for so many spiritual people. I 100% would have killed myself had it not been for COVID.
Yep.
Absolutely no doubt in my mind. I had a plan. June 2020 was the time I was going through. I had everything all planned out. Then COVID hit, and something hit my soul, and things began to shift. And so we are here today for those people who are in those moments, who are thinking, I'm going to make a plan because this isn't working out, and I'm done.
Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody who said that, I'm done. I've tried this. It's not for me. What, you've probably been there. I've been there. What would you say?
Yeah. So we lost my husband's brother in 2016. He lost his fight with depression. And that was a big shift for us because he was very much a spiritual beauty in of itself. And we connected on such a strong level. And a lot of times when we struggle with that, it's because we've struggled with that in previous lives, right? And so that is one of those karmic cycles that we really try to break every time we come here. And sometimes we can do it and sometimes we can't.
Right.
But so, that was the first time my husband really understood depression and anxiety. He is not somebody that has ever been depressed or have anxiety in his entire life. I come from a lot of mental illness. My mother is paranoid schizophrenic and bipolar. And so I have experienced mental illness my entire life since I was a young baby. And so that's something that I've always struggled with. Growing up, I was raised very poor. We were in poverty. We could not afford food. We could not afford water. We had to boil water on the stove to take baths, sort of thing. It was a lot. And my mom had raised by a single mom, my white mom. And, she had us in a space where we were around a lot of wealthy white people. And so from a very young age, I was taught that there was something wrong with me, that I was too wild. I was too hyper because of my neurodivergence. And, I was a witch because I had black eyes. I was a monkey because I was hairy. I looked like a monkey. And I was the only, besides one other black kid in my school, I was the only person of color.
Yeah.
And so, I was constantly told how wrong I was and how ugly I was and poor and, I looked dirty. And, so I never had friends growing up, ever. I did not grow up going to, sleepovers and that sort of thing. I was invited to sleepovers so that they could torture me. And they were just really awful. Yeah. And so, for so long in my life, I really had to battle that, and then as I got older, then I had a lot of white men fetishizing me and, taking advantage of me. And, I was in many abusive relationships. I was raised around a lot of abuse. So it seemed normal to me. And so much of that I had to overcome. Most of my high school experience was in juvie. I was locked up, and that's where I spent my kid years, a bulk of them, and so I had to learn from a very young age what solitary confinement felt like and looked like. That's where my joy of reading came up, because that's all I had. You got to have one book. And then when you were done with the book, then you got to trade it out for another, because they had sweet baby muffins that would bring boxes of books back then for the juveniles to read. And so when I turned 18, I was like, because I got out just a few months shy of being 18. And I can remember having just a new outlook in life, because even when I was in juvenile jail, I was the one talking to all of the other girls in there and hearing their stories and listening to these powerful young girls my age that were going through just the most insane things. And it was like it was almost like a traditional summer camp, like normal kids do. But we were, in confinement. And so that's really where my love of helping my sisters came from, because I knew that that's why I was here. I was here to help that energy. I was here to be there, be a safe space, even at such a young age, And, once I got out, I was like, I have a plan. I'm going to do this. And again, I met a really awful man. And he made me miserable. And I tried to take my own life, because I just was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm trying. And it was actually a beautiful thing, because was not successful, obviously, which is great because then I found out I was pregnant. And
Oh,
I went,
wow.
holy shit, what am I going to do with a baby? You know, like
Yeah.
I was 20 and I was like, oh my God, like, you know, I remember sitting there. I've always had an interesting relationship with God and spirit. And I remember just like crying to the heavens, like, what is the purpose here? Like, what do you have in store for me? And I remember just feeling like, okay, so I'm going to do things so differently. And I'm really going to just flip the script on everything. And I'm going to choose to see this as such a huge blessing, and I'm going to do my best. And that's what I did, you know, and even though I really worked diligently and hard at caring for everyone else, I recognized that like in that moment, I'm caring for someone else. And so it's like, so that in turn led me to, I need to care for myself. I was not good at caring for myself. I was so good at just giving my energy out all the time to everybody all the time, even since being young and caring for my mother, you know, when she was sick and going through her episodes and, you know, all of that. And so that's what really shifted it for me is when I do have bouts of depression and anxiety, which still happens, I still work through that. You know, and I am also not that person that's sitting on a white cloud and, you know, wakes up and I'm going to meditate for 3 hours. And, you know, like that is not my reality. So I have to get it where I can get it. And I have to breathe when I can breathe. And I have to bring myself back to center when I need to bring myself back to center. And sometimes other people in my family are like, bro, you need to. And I'm like, yep, nope, yep, I'm going to do it. And so I am not, you know, by any means, any kind of perfection when it comes to that, right? It's progress, not perfection. So the self-care has really been life-saving for me, and giving myself the grace to not be okay. Like that's what's so hard in this human experience, especially in this, you know, patriarchal, you know, colonist fucking society, is we're in this place of like, you know, just suck it up, keep calm and carry on. And it's like, no, that's like the exact opposite of what we need to do. You know, yes, don't sit in it and stew in it because that can be dangerous, right? However, like our anxiety, our depression is like GPS, right? So when we feel those feelings, instead of shoving them down and moving on, we need to go, hi, thank you for telling me that I have something that needs to be addressed, right? Like our bodies are trying to speak to us. Our souls are trying to speak to us through our bodies. And so I've really learned to be still and be silent with that and give myself the permission to feel whatever it is that I need to fucking feel. You know, even if it seems stupid or whatever to whoever, even if to myself in a judgmental space, if I'm like, stop feeling this way, that's ridiculous. I need to like redirect but why am I feeling this way?
Right.
Why is this coming up? Is it because of this situation that I'm currently in? Is it because this situation is sparking something from my past, which is a lot of the times is what it is, right? Neurologically, we swing ourselves back. Our brain doesn't know the difference between the past and the present and the future tripping. You know what I mean? And so a lot of times that redirecting to that emotional fragility and space is important because it's okay to feel. If it wasn't, we wouldn't feel. We would be robots and we just wouldn't have any feeling at all, which would probably make this existence easier. But that's also why we're here for not easy. We're here.
Exactly. Yeah.
The tough stuff and the tough shit. And sometimes we need to fucking hole up in our bed. You know, sometimes we need to fucking go into nature. Like that's my biggest thing. When I feel that disconnect from Gaia, from, you know, Blessed Ashura, like I'm like, I need to get into nature. And I'm fortunate because, you know, my mom and I have land and a farm out in, you know, Southwest Kansas. And so it's just woods. And I can feel myself as soon as I walk into my woods, I can feel my nervous system just go, oh.
Yeah.
And it's better than any fucking drug that I could ever take Like, it is the most spiritual magic that brings me back to fucking center. And then I'm like, okay, I can take on the world now because I need to be in nature. We need
and
to
again, that's back to that 90% of our human time span. That was home.
Yep.
There was no not nature.
No, it's where we belong. Like, we are nature. And that's
Right.
why I try to constantly give myself grace, and my clients, you know, teaching my clients that is like, we look at ourselves in like terms of, you know, what everyone else is doing, what everyone else looks like. If we don't look like them, then we're weird and we're not perfect. And we're, you know, we judge ourselves in such a huge space, you know, and it's not our fault. We're conditioned from birth to feel that way. However, nature is so fucking weird, right? Like, nature is not like beautiful and whimsical. Yes, it has its moments, but it's also angry, and it's also fucking gross, and it's weird, and, you know, and all those things.
And
Yes, and we are nature.
Right,
Like, we are nature. We are not separate from nature. Again, that's that patriarchal programming of believing that we belong in these little boxes on the hillside, you know, like these tiny boxes next to everybody where we don't really talk to our neighbors other than hello, and we worry about our lawns, and we work 80 hours a week. But like, that's not what we're supposed to do. You know, we're supposed to be different. We're supposed to be unique. We're supposed to be our own beautiful selves, because that's where we are. And meeting ourselves where we are opposed to where we should be is also very vital to our mental health.
Absolutely.
Because we get so trapped again in this programming space of, I need to do this to be happy. I need to do this to be, you know, successful. I need to be this way. I need to be better. You know, and this hustle culture of go, 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 move, 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 which makes us sick.
Yes.
You know, and to remind ourselves that it's okay to be beautiful now. Like, it's okay to be whole now, because you are whole now. And the more that we allow ourselves to just be, the more opportunity flows, the more the universe is giving us beautiful things and beautiful opportunities, and the more we allow ourselves to heal, you know.
What is magic? What does it mean to you? That's what I want to hear.
So magic is so many things to me. Magic is my heart space. That's like my biggest form of magic. Getting out of my brain and into my heart space has been such a portal to magic for me. And recognizing when I'm not operating in my heart and I'm operating in my mind or my gut even, right? I have to move myself like, this is your magic. This is your heart space, because I notice such a huge difference in the way I speak and the way I feel and the way I act when I'm here in my mind or here in my gut or my root, right? Because trauma, we're always in our root. And moving myself to my heart space, because being also neurodivergent, I notice everything, right?
Have you read the statistic that we notice 42% more? We neurodivergent people notice on average 42% more. We're taking in, I think I want to make this point because it helps people understand what our reality is like. We're taking in 42% more information than neurotypical people. So if you're like, why is my neurodivergent friend always tired? Because they're living half again a life than what normal people.
And I would also love to know that statistic versus men versus women, right? Because women, as a survival instinct, we have been like, we've been forced to be in a space of hypervigilance all the time. And that's something that I've had to really work on as well. But being able to transition from overstimulation, which I get very overstimulated very easily. That's why I'm a homebody, and that's why I love nature. But transitioning and transmuting that energy from manic overstimulation to a beautiful observation, a magical observation has also really shifted my perception of my daily life. And magic is, you know, seeing a woman change a tire while a guy is standing there like this. You know what I mean? Like that's,
yeah, I do know.
Yeah. You know, magic is, you know, having a conversation with an elder and, you know, hearing about their life and seeing their eyes light up. You know, it's the beauty of nature. It's the beauty of, I have these 2 white butterflies that are in my garden that have just like taken up space in my garden, and just seeing them flutter around together in just simplicity, like that's fucking magic. You know, the ability to sit down and have a hot cup of fucking coffee or a hot cup of tea and watch the clouds, that's fucking magic. You know, the power of watching a woman or a femme just walk with their just beautiful magic energy, that's fucking magic. You know, there's just so much magic in the world that is constantly flowing and emitting, and I'm constantly allowing myself the space to sit and enjoy it. And I feel like that is always really hard for people in this society, to allow themselves to do that, because we're always late, we're always going, we're always hustling, we're always moving, we don't have time for this. And I am fortunate because I do have children that force me to also be present, you know, especially my toddler, my 2.5-year-old. She's like just picking flowers, and I'm like, come on, we gotta go. And she's just like, nope,
I'm gonna look at the flowers.
I'm like, you know what? Yeah, fuck that. We don't need, it's fine. We don't need to go. Let's pick these flowers together, boo. Yeah. Like, we got this, you know, and allowing myself that inner child allowance of, you know, hey, I didn't have a big childhood. You know, I was fortunate to have time at the farm with my grandparents. And that's what really kind of kept my little magic contained and where my love of nature came from, because I was an only child. And so I was always jumping on hay bales and playing in creeks and getting muddy and dirty. And so getting myself back to that space as an adult, constantly playing and constantly allowing myself to do things, even though that mind is like, well, you're an adult, don't do that. I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm going to do
that's
it.
Programming. That's not real. That would be programming.
So allowing that magic, that's the biggest source of magic, I would say, in my life, in a general sense, is the inner child allowance, the inner child healing, allowing myself to be dorky and making crazy faces and looking at the comments of people going, ew, that's so cringe, take it down. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to. You know,
my little byline is embrace the cringe. And when people say, oh, that's so cringe, I'm like, yes, you got it. Thank you for seeing the cringe in what I'm doing. And they're like, I don't know what to do with that comment.
Well, and, you know, the understanding that we are all fucking walking mirrors. And just because someone has an issue with me and a problem with me, that's not indicative of me as a person. That is absolutely their own perception of what they've got going on, and understanding that, because that's a big thing to get over. Because
such a big thing to get over.
I mean, and as humans, because we come from tribe life, because we come from village life, it was our survival. Our survival depended on us going along with what everybody else did, because that's how we understood what was poisonous. That's how we understood what was dangerous, you know? And so biologically in us, we want to be like everyone else because we think that that's going to help us survive. And again, that's probably our ancestral trauma too, you know, not probably is our ancestral trauma of like, you have to stay safe. You have to stay safe, you know? But it's like branching off of that and recognizing that, well, just because they're doing it doesn't mean that I have to do it, because I am safe. And the constant, like, I am safe, I'm okay. And that's, you know, going back to, you know, having those feelings of fear, having those feelings of, I can't do this anymore. That's normal, you know? And I feel like it's hard because so many of us have been told by therapists or psychiatrists or doctors or peers or whatever that, well, if you're having thoughts of suicide, then you're sick and something's wrong with you, instead of understanding that, no, it's not the symptom. It is the society. The society is the sickness.
Yeah.
This is a product of living in a very unhealthy society. So what you're feeling is normal to feel that way. It's just like imposter syndrome. That's normal to feel that way. However, how are you going to address that within yourself, right? Because it's not everybody else's deal, right? It's
Right.
your deal. Even though they are the sickness, right, that's causing you to feel this way, there is something within us that is saying you need something.
Right.
Something is going on here. Something is not, even if you're not aware of it, there is a trauma, there is a sadness, there is something happening that is crying out for help. And so for that GPS, you know, going, oh, turn here, you know, and so
Right.
being able to locate that and nourish that and give it space, and recognizing that fear as a whole, with, you know, Draw Rosa talks on this a lot, right? And recognizing that fear is set in place for us as humans, you know, to recognize that, like, our brain is like, you're in trouble, right? Because this is similar to this thing that happened this one time. And so identifying that either it's that, or because you're on that precipice of something great. You're on that precipice of something magical and beautiful. And if you get through this door, as fucking hard as it is to push through that fear, something so beautiful like a birth is going to be on the other side for us. And recognizing that it is okay to push through the darkness and to go into the dark instead of just piling rocks on top of it like it's not there, because that's where we get into trouble. You know, we get into this depths of despair and we don't want to ask for help, you know, and that's where energy work and spiritual guidance can come into effect. Is it's okay to ask for help. You know, it's okay to seek out aids, whether it's in book form or in teachers or, you know, in healing work of any kind, you know, because sometimes you need just a little bit. You need to follow that intuition where it goes, and our guides are there for us. And if we listen, like truly listen, like so many of my clients that come to me, I'm like, after sessions, I'm like, so this is what came through, and they're like, oh, yeah, nope, that makes sense. You know, because sometimes they try so hard to get through to us and to show us signs, but they can only do so much, right? Because we still have free will.
Right.
And so if we shut ourselves off with disassociation and we just kind of like let ourselves go into this space, we don't listen, and we're not aware of these signs that are being shown to us. So the more that we are in tune with our feelings and understanding that sometimes it's like, hey, fear, I want to thank you. Like I talk to myself like that. Hey, fear.
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
Thank you for protecting me and being there for me. But I'm okay. Right. I'm safe, and you can go away now. And it's amazing how well that works. You know what I mean? Because we don't think like that. We think that we are, you know, victims to our emotions. That is not the case. Like the more that we can take ownership of our emotions and delegate, like, you know, a conductor, like, yeah, that's great, but I'm gonna have to put you over here because I need to see what's going on over here. Like a lot of that opens up. And, you know, like I said, it's not that I never have bad days or struggles, or I have traumas that, you know, I get triggered a lot. Right. And I have to like really identify those triggers and understand where those triggers are coming from, why I'm feeling those triggers, and how I can help myself through that trigger. So
yeah. As we're wrapping up here, I was just thinking how I'm 51, and I've come to the belief, realization, whatever, that we are each here. If there's any purpose in life, it's that each of us is here to figure out what makes us happy and makes us, and I mean truly happy, not just like I got a Ferrari, I'm happy. I mean like in my soul, lying on my bed thinking that was great. I would be happy to do that again because I learned my lessons and I was happy. And the thing is that journey is going to look different for every single one of us.
Absolutely.
For somebody, perhaps it's being a devout Catholic. I can't really understand that, but that is the path for some people. That's not my path. That's not your path. And I think that for someone, if someone were to come to me in that position at this moment and say, I don't think I can do this anymore, I would say, then you're not following your true path. Because your true path will make you happy, and it's your job to find it. Nobody else can find it for you. That's your job. That's your one and only job. When you come to the earth.
There's so much pressure, though, because we think that we have to do these big things, and we have to be amazing and mad, and like we have to do this to be great and happy. But just living your truth and finding keeping yourself in this heart space energetically. That's all you need to do, because then it's like the ripple effect, right? The butterfly effect. Then other people will see, other people will feel, and your magic will touch others in so many magnetic ways. That's why we're here. We're here to learn. We're here to grow. We're here to love. And that's it. Release all the other, like we need radical acceptance, each and every one.
Right. Yeah. I suffered so bad because I was like, well, I can't seem to get the job that makes the, $60,000-$70,000 that I need to live in Denver. Fuck that. My mom and I got a house together. I ain't making shit. And I'm happier than I've ever been in my life. So I like to make sure that people understand that too. You and I are not sit here rolling in the cash telling people, it's easy to be happy. No. Yeah.
Like it's the simplistic shit, like learning to come back to a simple space, and understanding that we don't need a lot to be happy. We can survive and we can thrive on very small amounts. And man, I have so many tips and tricks for balling on a budget too, like when you're poor, like you just got to share that. But we don't need it. Whatever it is, we don't need it.
Right. That's emotional outsourcing. Yep. Don't make your emotions depend on shit outside.
Because you will not find happiness.
You got to insource. That's the only thing.
Yeah. If there's anyone out there that's struggling, it's gonna be okay. You're okay. You are enough. Like, oh my gosh, I cannot say that enough. That you are enough. And we each of us are here to share our medicine and to share our magic. So what's yours?
Right. You have it. We all have it. And I wonder, you mentioned spirit guides. We all have spirit guides.
Absolutely.
We all have spirit guides. Yep. I rarely come across a person who utilizes that most precious gift in their life, because people are not taught about their spirit guides. They don't know about their spirit guides, but honey, they're there.
They're so there.
They're so there. And if ever you hear a Christian and you think, well, I'm not a Christian, but I kind of envy that close personal relationship, baby, you got it. The way people talk like that about Jesus, you got it with your own spirit guides.
And if there is ever an author or a spiritual worker that I ever is like my main, like, if you've not read it, Dolores Cannon. Like, read all Dolores Cannon's books.
Yeah.
And like, if you are curious about it, like, that is something that will make you understand and come back to home again and be like, wait, this is knowledge I already knew. And like, she just uncapped all of this information. And I feel so comforted and safe reading these words, because she was such a powerful force. And that is definitely something everyone should have on their reading list. So,
well, I love that. Thank you for that wonderful recommendation. And just thank you. I've taken more of your time than I intended to, but this has just been such a beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
I just adore you. It's fun. It's fun. And it's, social media has an ugliness, but it also has a great beauty. And really you are part of that great beauty, and becoming part of each other's lives, to me, has been a blessing from social media. So
yes, absolutely. And thank you so much. I really love hearing that. And I always am like, beauty sees beauty. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, my darling. And I hope you have a wonderful day. This won't be out until... I know that you loved that episode with Wolfwoman. I know that she inspired you and got you all fired up. Please join us next week for my second episode of season 2. And I will be talking with the incredibly magical Shariah Wise. You might know her from music. She's a great high vibe musician, and she's collaborated with Peachka, who was a guest on one of my
episodes last season. So I hope you'll have a great week and that you'll join us again for Shariah Wise on Empower Your Magical Self, Season 2. Bye.